They got paid big bucks to lie to the American public about this, and if you're asking what this is, it's the true origins of the C-19 virus. You know, the virus that destroyed millions of lives across the globe and sunk businesses and entire families left and right. Oh yeah, that one.
New bombshell whistleblower revelations on the origins of COVID-19 have come in, and it is not looking good for the natural origins crowd. New reporting alleges that the CIA offered to pay off analysts in hopes of burying their findings that COVID-19 was likely leaked from a lab. Wow. Tuesday, the House Coronavirus Subcommittee and the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence notified the CIA Director, William Burns, of these startling allegations. According to a high-level CIA officer, 6 officers of the CIA were given a, quote, significant monetary incentive to change their position on the origins of the virus.
The committees have set a September 26th deadline for the CIA to turn over all records regarding the establishment of COVID-19 discovery teams. They've also asked the former chief operating officer at the agency, Andrew McCridis, to participate in a voluntary transcribed interview. Molecular biologist and author Alina Chan noted on X, if this whistleblower is telling the truth, that means 1, 6 out of 7 CIA analysts leaned toward lab origin of COVID. 2, someone with authority talked to the 6 analysts talked them down from a lab origin assessment. 3, 4 agencies, FBI, DOE, CIA, DIA's scientific experts lean toward lab origin.
Boom, mind freaking blown. How's that for starters, guys? Y'all like that? Because I've reported on this conspiracy theory for some time now, and well, I know for a fact that I got a lot of heat for it. Heat that I honestly didn't mind because I'm here to hear out all sides of the story, not just the narrative that we're being given or shoved down our throats. You know what I mean? I mean, they put Trump through the ringer for even thinking that this thing came from a lab. And remember when Fauci was like, nah, this came from nature, y'all?
This morning, Dr. Anthony Fauci is shooting down theories that the coronavirus was man-made. He tells National Geographic everything about the stepwise evolution over time strongly indicates that this virus evolved in nature and then jumped species. Fauci added he does not believe another theory that the virus occurred naturally but was accidentally released into the public from a lab in China. Telling Nat Geo that means it was in the wild to begin with. That's why I don't get what they're talking about. It comes after both President Trump and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo linked the virus to a lab in Wuhan without providing evidence.
Have you seen anything at this point that gives you a high degree of confidence that the Wuhan Institute of Virology was the origin of this virus?
Yes, I have.
There's enormous evidence that that's where this began. I can tell you that there is a significant amount of evidence that this came from that laboratory in Wuhan.
I'm not sure if Fauci still doesn't get what they're talking about, you know what I mean? And wait, I just remembered that they offered him money. I've been talking all this time and I just realized where that money came from. Us. Man. We paid taxpayer money and they gave it to 6 analysts for them to go ahead and change their minds on this entire thing. Unbelievable. And if we want to talk about the why of all this, well, we all know that the NIH funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan. I mean, it's an open secret now.
We revealed that American scientists or international scientists knew that COVID might have leaked from a laboratory, but kept that information secret. Take this message from infectious diseases researcher Christian Anderson sent to his colleagues. He said the lab escape version of this is so friggin' likely to have happened because they were already doing this type of work and the molecular data is fully consistent with that scenario. He also said, I hate when politics is injected into science, but it's impossible not to. There was also this private message from Sydney University professor Eddie Holmes. He said, he wrote, let's face it, unless there's a whistleblower from the Wuhan Institute of Virology who's going to defect and live in the West under a new identity, we are never going to know what happened in that lab. Never. In response to this, the University of Sydney told us in a statement that these are selective quotes taken from private correspondence between collaborating scientists during a moment in time. They said Professor Holmes and his colleagues ruled nothing out as they investigated the origins of the virus during the early days of the pandemic and clearly stated in their proximal origins paper that more scientific data could swing the balance of evidence to favor one hypothesis over another.
Like, how bad would it be for Fauci if this blows up and people, not just Americans, but people across the world realize that they funded the past few years where people lost loved ones, they lost their livelihoods, they lost their businesses and countless other opportunities? How bad would that look for the United States? Now, before I even get to this next part, and believe me when I tell you, you guys are going to want to stick around for this one. Please make sure to smash the like button for the video. It's like the truth serum for YouTube because it forces them to show this video to even more people. And hey, consider subscribing to the channel because I do my best to deliver you guys the truth 24/7 on issues that actually matter to us. Appreciate the love, guys. So getting back to how bad it could be for the United States regarding this issue. You know that entire idea that they lied to us? Sorry, allegedly lied to us. What then will be the response when people are told to get jabs? I mean, it's perfectly normal to ask, right? Because these latest ones will make Big Pharma a lot of cash, which in turn will also give the federal government a lot of cash because they're going to get paid for most of the licensing and all of the taxes collected from. Kind of like a I scratch your back, you scratch mine situation. Well, the CDC is already encouraging us to get jabbed as we're already heading into the virus season. I'm not kidding you guys. That is what they have on their website. You see? Now, like I always say, if you want to get the vaccine or a booster, that's your right. It is your decision to do that. I'm not going to come on here and tell you that something's wrong because you have a choice. I'm not here to change your mind. But I know that this time around, they are much more focused on getting jabs to younger folks. Just how young are we talking here, though? Anyone who's 6 months or older, that's the demographic that they're now targeting. And just to provide you with some facts on the jabs, they didn't go through clinical trials. So yeah, something to think about, right? All they're telling us is that previous vaccines were all right, so we're probably going to be all right this time around again, right? Not sure how many young athletes would agree with that notion, but let's not get into that conversation because we'll be here all day. This now reminds me of something that Senator Rand Paul said about Fauci. I mean, these two have been at each other's throats ever since the start of the health crisis, so I'm guessing that we could see more of this back and forth between these two guys, especially with the whistleblower information coming out. And do you guys remember when he talked about free speech, about how the truth seems to be hidden from the American public?
Our government is paying Twitter to take down information, or at least they were doing that until Elon Musk took over. These are big issues. The First Amendment used to be a big issue for both parties. Democrats used to be the greatest of defenders of the First Amendment. And now things are topsy-turvy, and there doesn't seem to be interest in the majority party in protecting speech. We've gotten to this point where people think the speech is okay if I agree with it or if I think it's right. But if I think it's wrong, if I think it's anti-scientific, by golly, it should be taken down. Well, science is always being debated and disputed. Anthony Fauci, in committee, told me directly that he wasn't funding gain-of-function research in China. We now have evidence. We have the grant numbers from the NIH that he funded it. And you say, well, he says it's not gain-of-function. We now have an email that came out last week where he says in the email, summarizing a conversation from February 1st, 2020, where Anthony Fauci says, we're suspicious of a lab leak. He says at that time, a week later, he's saying it's crackpot theory. He says we're suspicious of a lab leak because we know they're doing gain-of-function research, and he describes the research. The research he describes is actually the research that he funded.
Well, thoughts on this, guys? Now you have to think, if the CIA can pay off scientists, who else got paid to lie to us? Make sure you share your thoughts in the comment section down below. And before I go, guys, I just want to thank you guys for always hanging out. Thanks for leaving a like for the video. Thank you for subscribing, and I'm gonna see you guys on the next one.